Hey, this is Joel, and I'm going to go through my playbook trade for December 21st, 2018. Big picture for the market, as you probably well know, it's been in sort of a free fall since the beginning of December. Yesterday's Fed announcement didn't help, and or I should say Wednesday's Fed announcement didn't help, and now it's actually officially been closing at 14-month lows the past couple of days, and you can see that it's been trading in this range really since, you know, you can't really see on there, but last 14 months, beginning October, and now it's finally below that range. Um, so volatility's really elevated, and just in general, it's a very negative outlook on the markets amongst people. Um, Specific to the ticker I was trading today, Micron Technologies, or MU, announced their earnings on 12/18. They actually beat on earnings per share, but they missed on revenue, and people were kind of negative about it. And I'll show you in the next chart. Stock's been in a downtrend since June. So kind of since they've announced, what's happened is on 12/19, the stock opened strong. It was holding above kind of a key level of 32.60, and for a while it was holding even above 33. And as soon as the Fed announcement occurred, um, it sold off to close basically at low of the day, 12-20. It opened strong again, this time basically failing from kind of the bottom end of the range that it was holding the day before, and it closed beneath a key area of support, the 3180 level. And so from that, I kind of gathered that the sellers looked to be in control, because I thought maybe um, it was just the thing on the 19th was just a result of the Fed announcement, but basically the same thing happened. And looking at it before the open, I kind of identified some levels where I thought if this thing could hold below, it might be a good opportunity to short into. So go through some fundamentals here. You can see on the left is just some information about MU itself, but on the right, some variables for this trade. And let me just describe the trade first. Basically, there's an established technical level, and the stock is really looking to try to get above that, but it keeps failing. It doesn't really push away much in either direction, and eventually it's kind of like doing its like last gasp attempt, and that's kind of when you want to get in and hold the trade, which you'd see that I didn't actually hold. Didn't do a good job of that on this one, but picked out the right opportunity. So some things you're looking for is like an established technical level, both on the long-term chart if possible. Let me just back up one more. These are all variables. You don't have to have all of these, but the more that you have, the more the trade's likely to go in your favor. So ideals would be established technical level, both on a longer time frame, but also something that's been tested before you make the trade, since the catalyst has occurred. Um, an overall weak stock. The more of these, the better. So negative catalyst, check. Long-term downtrend, check. Weakness since the catalyst occurred, check. And market weak, check. And also before you make this trade, the more times this thing has failed, the better, especially if you can see that it's been consolidating under the level, kind of like coiling to like make an attempt to get above, and then it keeps failing. That's not good. How do you feel when you try really hard at something, um, and it doesn't work out for you? You might try again, but eventually you just kind of give up. Um, and that's kind of what I think the battle occurring at some of these levels can be like sometimes, as you'll see. Technical analysis. So this is a daily chart. You can see since June that the stock's been in the downtrend. Um, and you can see where I've kind of blown this up, picked out this level. You can kind of see at one point back in July, this thing gapped down, and there's this 30.87 level on here, and then it was kind of holding its support in there for a solid, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks before eventually kind of that was the start of this uptrend. That basically went all the way into June and then started selling off. So I guess this must have been in 2017 maybe. It's like August of 2017. So anyways, that was a key level, like I said, longer term. And then as you'll see, it's kind of been pinging around there in the shorter term. So here's the 15-minute chart. You can see on day one, this thing looked strong, was holding, looked strong. Then the Fed announcement happened and it sold all the way off and closed pretty much at the low of the day. The next day was kind of like another attempt to kind of push back above, and you can see this time it failed kind of at the bottom of this range from the day before where the sell-off had started for the Fed announcement. Again, comes and kind of closes, gets all the way down, makes a late afternoon kind of low, tries to bounce, and then kind of comes back, settling below this 31.80 level you can see on here. And then on the open today, it popped above and basically came back down and was kind of trending down until lunchtime around the level that we were talking about, this 30.87, before the trade that I'm about to describe actually occurred later on in the day. Okay, so this is the 1-minute chart, and just to kind of point out what I'm describing when I say this battle that's going on that you're looking for, and if you can follow me, I tried to color code these text boxes so you can kind of see which part of the chart I'm talking about. But starting on the left, you can see the level breaks underneath for the first time around noon, and then it hangs underneath there, doesn't capitulate, but kind of hangs underneath, kind of comes up, comes down in a range for about 45 minutes, breaks above, comes back down and retests, and then consolidates again, but it consolidates in a higher range than it was before. Eventually it breaks above, makes a higher high relative to this period since it failed the level for the first time. And now look, it consolidates even higher. Then it breaks through the level again, except this time it doesn't consolidate for very long underneath. It tries to get up really quickly. And this time it gets above and it's kind of holding the level, but you can see there's obviously like a step change in there of maybe like 10 cents from where it was holding before. Then it fails again, and this time in a more compressed time scale than it had done previously. And at that point, it tries to consolidate, drifts lower, makes another run, but this time gets stopped out or the run dies out even before it gets close to touching the level, drifts down more, down to maybe like this 30.60 region. It makes one final effort here, is rebuffed pretty easily, comes back down, and then it comes back up to this line right here, this 30.87, blips above, and then kind of never looks back till the end of the day. So as far as reading the tape, unfortunately not applicable for today. I forgot to start recording, which is kind of a bummer. And then, as I'll say next, I got stopped out for a small gain before tape reading could assist in the trade management. So limit order for 30.87, and put my stop loss in for 4 cents. And I don't really know. I think, something I'm still struggling with is just honestly trying to get my head around making money at trading. And, as soon as I got in the money at all, I moved my stop down, and got stopped out for like a 9 cent gain or 8 cent gain, which, I mean, it's better than losing. It still was okay, risk versus reward, not great, 2-1, but like in my game plan, I was playing for, if this eventually broke down, maybe a move down to test the 30 level. And I knew that, and I was only risking 4 cents. So like next time I will absolutely, especially now that I'm saying this and recording this video, hopefully it will burn into my head and into my intuition, just to think more and about my profit taking strategy before I get into a trade, which is something I've been trying to work on. But if I had done so here, this would have been a great trade. I would have trended down almost 72 cents and risking 4 cents. What is that? 18-1 risk versus reward. Suppose the guy didn't get stopped out along the way, but still, kind of a bummer there. But I'm more happy with the fact that I'm identifying these opportunities, and it's only a matter of time before I start taking them. So some things I did well, I did a really good job of doing technical analysis and coming up with a game plan, spotting that level, which you noticed that it just pretty much bounced off. I think it went up to 30.88. Pretty much bounced off it exactly. I waited patiently for this trade and I gave it a tight stop. Um, when I actually got into the trade initially, and so that was good because sometimes I have a habit of giving things too big of a stop. And obviously, if I'm looking at something that's an 18 to 1 risk versus reward, maybe you can afford to go with a little bit bigger stop. Um, but in general, if a trade is worth, um, if a trade calls for whatever stop it's going to need from a just a technical point of view, and so you don't want to risk more than you need to. Um, so, anyways, so saying that out loud, I realized it kind of sounded a little silly. I mean, other times I think you'd want to use a bigger stop are when there's just more uncertainty around the trade, but you think it's going to work. Like with yesterday's Fed announcement, if you were listening to it and you tried to get short the spies, it's pretty negative. You know it's going to go down. You're really sure. So maybe you can put on more risk in terms of your actual stop. Like you might risk 50 cents or 75 cents. But in this case, and on these lower value stocks where you have more clean levels, um, you don't want to risk more in terms of stop loss. You want to risk more in terms of if you have a stop loss, buy more shares. So you're technically risking more money, but you're still giving the trade the same size stop loss. So, anyways, um, it was good for me the way I did it. But once the trade started, I adjusted my stop loss down too aggressively and got stopped out before I really gave this thing a chance to work. So I think if I had to do this again, what I probably would do is, maybe adjust my stop down to like break even or something. Um, and yeah, basically that's what I would have done. So anyways, it's getting kind of late. Thanks for listening.